Hi, my name is Danny Padron. I'm a proud graduate of the class of 1969 at John Jay High School, the first graduating class. I'd like to share my story with you. As a freshman in high school, our family was in the military and we lived all over the world. We spent a year at Wichita Falls, Hershey High School, my freshman year. Then we went to Homestead Air Force Base in South Dade, Florida, and I went to South Dade High School for my sophomore year. Father realized that this was not Texas football, and we got a chance to get back to San Antonio, and John Jay opened that first year. And so military school, all of us were connected to the Air Force, and so my junior and senior year I was at John Jay High School. Had an opportunity to play all three sports there, football, basketball, and baseball, for some great coaches. And those coaches made a difference in my life. Alvin Pee Wee Woods, Bill Tilton, Bill Horland was our head baseball coach, Jerry Mason, a lot of the coaches there that made a difference in my life. My mother was Italian. She came from Udine, Italy, and so she had plans for me to be a doctor. I was a good student. I ended up being fourth in my class, and so I was designed to be a doctor. And then my junior year, after our football season and baseball season was going through, we got a chance to visit Southwest Texas State, and I knew then that I didn't want to be a doctor. I wanted to go ahead and go into athletics. Coaches were the difference in my life, and I wanted to be like them. So they influenced me. When my mother found out, she was really upset, but my dad, kind of stuck up for me, and coaching was where I wanted to be. My coaches helped me to decide on a career as far as a teaching field. It was either chemistry or mathematics. I went into chemistry because of Mrs. Vackey. She was one of the best teachers we had. She ended up being an administrator at John Jay afterwards. But her influence got me as a chemistry. And the first class, I was at Our Lady of the Lake. I took my math and chemistry classes at the lake and my coaching classes at St. Mary's. But anyway, my first class at Our Lady of the Lake was a chemistry teacher, a professor that was from Southwest Research. Came in with a white starched shirt, a little black tie, and just scared me to death. He was boring and just unbelievable. And then that same day I went to my calculus professor, and it was a nun, Sister Marilyn Malloy. And right then I knew, she was so dynamic and so exciting and motivational. I asked if I could change majors, and I went into mathematics and never regretted it. Coaching was important to me. I got a chance to coach. I was a sophomore at Our Lady of the Lake. I was starting to coach at St. Gerard's High School. I was the head baseball coach, freshman football, and freshman basketball. Along with taking my classes, I helped in the math department that first year, and then my senior year, I had an actual calculus class. I taught a couple of kids calculus, and along with the algebras that we had for basic classes. So it was a quick run, but I knew right away that I had chosen the right profession. Athletics was really very important to me. I had an opportunity to coach at St. Gerard's for 5 years. And then I went to Alamo Heights for 2 years, taught math as well. Then Clark High School opened up in 1978. I was hired on it as the head baseball coach, JV football. I coached the varsity receivers that year, and we had just split ends. And then I taught Algebra 1 and fundamentals of math. They were not about to give a coach any higher math classes, and I think eventually I got a chance to start teaching Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. Came back to Clark afterwards and taught Algebra 2 honors. I spent 10 years at Clark, went off to another school, Judson Independent School District, for 5 years, and came back at Clark High School for another 9 before becoming the head football coach at O'Connor High School. Athletics has always been an important part of my life. I'm very fortunate to be at Northside. I'm proud of the Northside brand. I was educated as a student here, was educated as a teacher here. And I finished up my career at Texas Lutheran University as the head football coach there. And now we're here. All right. Athletics has been a big part of my life. From the high school coaches that coached me, they influenced my career decisions. They gave me great advice, either to major in chemistry or major in mathematics, and I thought that was a big part of my role as an educator. Athletics is the opportunity for us to kind of teach the intangibles that we don't get in the classroom. Things like, sacrifice, teamwork, determination, perseverance, a lot of things that it doesn't occur in the classroom. I had great coaches, great high school coaches, and coaches that I worked with. I can just start naming them. Stuart McBurney gave me the opportunity at St. Gerard's when I was still a student at college. He gave me that opportunity, and I've always been grateful for it. I went from there to Alamo Heights with Stuart. He at first coached in a public school as well, and then I went to Clark High School where Mike Honeycutt was part of a staff that really taught me how to work, that gave me a blueprint for what a high school program should include. And then Mike Robbins took over, and we were a young staff, but we were really successful. And I think it is because of the type of person Mike Robbins is, compassionate. I learned that you love your players, and you have a it was a ministry to me to be a coach, and I learned that from Mike Robbins, his example. He never gave up on kids, was always positive, always enthusiastic, was always a guy that, he always saw the glass half full, and I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot how to treat our athletes. And then from there I went to Judson with D.W. Rutledge, and D.W. Really taught me a lot more things about the program. He taught the leadership values, the values of a program, and more of an idea about that playing athletics is more than just teaching blocking and tackling or fielding a ground ball. It's about changing lives, and we had that opportunity with him. And so I learned a lot from him. Came back with Coach Robbins, then became a head coach myself. Worked with a lot of great assistant coaches and to make that happen. One of the assistant coaches I worked with ended up being our principal at O'Connor High School, a man that is so humble, he's great work ethic, would never ask anything of others, but he would always demonstrate that. Probably the most positive man I've ever met. This story that I tell about him, it really exemplifies, how all of us should be, very optimistic. This young boy was so optimistic his parents were worried about him, and they went to a psychologist and said, "Hey, what can we do? We're worried about, when reality sinks in, and he won't be able to handle it. He's just so optimistic, so positive." And so the psychologist said, "Well, look, just next birthday, go ahead and give him a big box of horse maneuver instead of a present. That'll sink in. That reality will sink in, and that life is not always going to be so rosy." And so the parents said, okay, well, they weren't sure about it, but they wrapped up the present, and birthday came around, and they gave the birthday present to the young boy, their son, and he tore into the wrapping, excited, and he saw this big old box. He pried the lid open, and he looked into it, and had a look of questioning. He said, "What in the world's going on?" He's thinking. And then all of a sudden, his eyes lit up, and his smile spread across his face. He dove in that box, and he started, just throwing and shoveling that horse maneuver left and right. And the parents are all alarmed. They said, son, that's horse maneuver." He says, "Yes, and look how much there is. There's bound to be a pony down here somewhere." Well, that's Larry Martin. He was given a lot of horse maneuver. He died early. What a great man he was, what a great leader he was, but he was always looking for the pony. That pony's down there, he knows it. And so I think his leadership as an educator, as a coach, as a teacher, made an effect on all of us that got a chance to work with him. And I think, I think that's the neat thing about athletics. It teaches you humility. And as a coach, every weekend we have an opportunity to to be humbled. We get out there on that weekend, and sometimes it just doesn't go right for you. When I became a college head football coach, my first year, I was standing in the lobby of the Grand Hyatt. It had just opened up, and I was in the lobby with the University of Texas coaches. I had worked their summer camps, so I was good friends with Mac Brown, who was the head coach at the time, and Greg Davis, his offensive coordinator. He coached the quarterbacks. So I spent a lot of time with them, and we were in there just talking, and they were asking me how's it feel to be a college football coach? And so I was saying I'm just trying to stay one day ahead, and they laughed. And then I noticed this really attractive young lady across the lobby. She made eye contact with me, and she started walking toward me, and I thought, gosh, did I teach her? Did I coach her son? Did I teach her daughter? I just didn't recognize her. And she came right up to us, and she said, Coach Padron? I said, yes. Said, would you take a picture? And I'm saying, wow, I've been a college coach 6 months, and she wants my picture, and here's Mac Brown, and here's Greg Davis, and she wants my picture. And just about the time my old chest started to swell up, she hands me her camera and puts her arm around Mac Brown. And so, I think humility is quickly learned in the coaching profession. I think you look at Coach Robbins, look at Coach Honeycutt. I learned a lot as a young coach from those guys. They taught me so much, and I just think that as a coach, that was my ministry, and that's what I felt led to do, to lead others. I've been asked to talk about my experiences as a student in a new school. John Jay just opened up, and it was just beautiful inside. It was one of those type deals where we were proud to be a part of the Northside School District, one of, I guess it was maybe 3 schools at the time. The chances there, the opportunities there, to set new traditions, to become, new friends. Some of those people had come from Holmes, and some had come from Marshall, and I think we joined together at John Jay, and it was really kind of special. I came from Florida, so I had, athletics enabled me to make a lot of friends. But it was a great deal. Our new teachers that we had, it was a lot of excitement. I was very fortunate my senior year to be the senior class president, and I, of course, now that we come back, we have reunions every 5 years or less sometimes, and that's part of that responsibility, getting people together. So I also was an opportunity to open up Clark High School as a coach and as a teacher. And again, the same type of situation. It was just beautiful facilities. Northside never, I guess, settles. It's always the best facilities that we have. We had great things, and so it was a great opportunity for us setting new traditions and seeing Clark High School come about, and then other schools developing from Clark High School.